Alright guys, I wanted to share another recent purchase with you guys. This is actually an electrical circuit tester. It says brilliant tool for auto electricians and mechanics. CNDW 285. I purchased this on Amazon. It says quick detection. You can see a part number here and it says made in China. It says man dark car power circuit. Let's pull up camera. It says for most cars red. Obviously we got a little broken English there. But anyways, here is the part number on the back. I don't know if that'll apply or not. This is just a barcode. And inside of it, this is probably one of the cheapest circuit testers that you could buy on eBay. And as you can see here, we do not have any kind of... We have an internal protection as far as a circuit breaker, but there's nothing to reset it. Automatically resets. We have a green for negative, red for positive, and this is one of those tools you get what you pay for. I have a all sun power probe I've had for years. Started to have some issues with it. The plastic deteriorator is starting to fall apart. Power probe on the end of it is still in good shape. I haven't had any problem with it. The ground wire broke off of it. These are actually junctioned together right here to where they're actually all one set of wires going in, but on my particular one there is a junction here. It failed. I had but connected together. I was looking to replace it. I had a hard time finding the all sun ones, and they wanted a ridiculous amount of money for them. And I thought a power probe was just a power probe, you know, as far as checking for powers, grounds, and stuff like that. Well, I was wrong. A lot of these are actually sense voltage from 0 volts all the way up to 24 volts, or 0 volts all the way up to 48 volts, whatever it's actually rated for. I haven't looked to see what this particular one is, but the problem I ran into is I went to go check a circuit, and what ended up happening is no power came through the circuit. I was checking a fan motor, checked on one side I had power, on the other side I had nothing. In another application, I actually had hooked this up and had power on one side and I had ground on the other. It's like, well, this fan should be working if that was the case. And what it is somehow this interprets the information, the low voltage coming out of the other side of it, as being a ground circuit. So I've gotten burned quite a few times. I shouldn't say quite a few times, 1 or 2 times. You know, looked at the information, said, man, this just don't make sense. Grabbed a regular test light, verified the circuit, and lo and behold, this was the issue right here. Not very fond on this. Like I said, this is one of those things you buy. If you buy it, you get what you pay for. It's a very misleading product, especially with the LED lights. They do not light bright. They do not light dim. If you use a incandescent light, you know, if you have low voltage, you can see that. A lot of people do not like using a test light. I am a test light guy. I like to see a load on a circuit. I use these in conjunction together. So I use a test light for a lot of things to verify circuits. This particular one right here, I would not suggest to buy it to anybody. I've read the reviews on this, and before I even bought it, I went online. Everybody talked about how great it was. And obviously, they do not do a lot of circuit control, because I would not recommend this to anybody. This would actually, if I depended on just this tool alone, it would not get the job done, because I would be chasing my tail without a good test light or logic probe that I trusted. I don't know. That being said, I'm going to leave it right there at that, and you know, kind of go from there. I do own a power probe, so I do own a power probe 3. One of the things I don't like about it is the audio noise. You can turn it off, but every now and then you get a crackle from the speaker when you're probing wires, and it sounds like a CB radio. Like I said, I use my AM 285, which is an all sun. I just recently found one online and purchased it. But I do have a power probe. I'm not a big fan on them. I do not dislike them, but I do like some of the features about them, as far as being able to put my terminal lens in here and probe things, seeing voltage on the screen. But like I said, I definitely rely on a test light more than I do anything. Neither a digital display with a LED to tell me power and ground, and then usually I have a candlescent depending on if it's a pull to ground or pull up the circuit. And if these are 12-volt circuits, I have no problem using on that. People say that you burn computers up and stuff like that, and yeah, you can. If you're going to go in there and probe a CAN line, apply direct voltage to it through a test light, yeah, you can burn things up. But, if you use a test light correctly, determine if it's a circuit controlled load or anything like that, they're perfectly safe. Like I said, as far as a good, you know, not power probe, but a logic probe is, one like this. This determines, an LED, whether it be ground or a power circuit. These are usually safe for computers and stuff like that, because usually if you're probing a fuse box and it's 5 volts, you're not applying direct voltage to that. And what I mean by 5 volts, a lot of your low voltage fuses, as far as your 3 amps and your 5 amps, sometimes go into the body control modules and other things, are only a 5 volt circuit. Not all of them are like that in your fuse panel, but you start probing around in there, and if you don't know what you're looking at, you could damage that circuit or that processor. So these make life a whole lot easier just for simple checks. Alright guys, like I said, I'm going to kind of leave it there. I just wanted to put that out there that, anybody looking into buying one of these, I wouldn't suggest it. Spend your money on a power probe or something like that. Buy a piece of name brand equipment. Something that's going to read from 0 to, 12 volts, 0 to 14 volts, 0 to whatever you're working on, whether it be a 20 volt system, a 48 volt system, or whatever it may be. Make sure that it's going to read all the voltages that it's going to read, and it's not going to illuminate the wrong light. So, like I said, this is one of those deals you get what you pay for. This will come in handy for other things if I wanted to power something up. Just like any other power probe, you can actually reverse the polarity on these, and your ground becomes a power. So a lot of times if I'm draining a fuel tank, that's what I'll do. I'll actually piggyback the inertia switch or something like that, and then it allows me to drain the tank. So this will come in handy. I'll be able to use it for other things, but it will not be a diagnostic tool. So, alright guys. Just a little information for you, and like I said, just a purchase that I wanted to share with you guys. And I'm gonna get out of here. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll talk to you later. Thank you.